Hello friends, welcome to Nutrition with Celeste. My name's Celeste, and on this channel I share information about practical nutrition, accessible cooking, and yummy food. While I have formal training in both nutritional sciences and culinary arts, I am not yet a registered dietitian and don't claim to know more than a licensed dietitian or medical doctor. Everything I say here is purely educational, and you should always consult with a professional before changing up your eating routine. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 9 tips to stretch your food dollars during quarantine. Tip number 1, shop with a grocery list. Now this may not initially seem like a money-saving tip, more like an organization tip. When you make a list, you're more likely to actually pick up the things you need and avoid impulse buying. Making a list also helps you to plan out meals in advance, and that way you can check at home to see what ingredients you already have and make sure that you buy the ones you need while you're at the store. In addition to saving money, you'll save time as well, as you won't have to go back and forth between different aisles of the grocery store. Tip number 2 is to freeze what you can. So many of us know fruits and vegetables go bad faster than other foods like canned or dried foods, but many of them can actually be frozen in order to preserve their shelf life. An example of this, I had a head of celery that was kind of on its way out, but I knew that I wanted to use it for recipes in the future. So I chopped it up, put it in a freezer bag, and froze it. And now I can use it when I'm going to make a soup or a sauce or something like that in the future. It probably won't be good for raw snacking, but definitely good for other applications. You could also blend up herbs with a little olive oil and then freeze them into ice cube trays. That way you can just pop out an herb cube whenever you need. Now certain foods definitely won't freeze well, so use your discretion. Like I probably wouldn't freeze a head of lettuce, but I freeze bags of spinach all the time. Because I know I'm not going to eat the spinach raw, I'm going to put it into a smoothie. And after it's been blended, the texture doesn't really matter anymore. Tip number 3 is to minimize food waste. Be sure to label and date any food that you make or leftovers that you have from takeout or another day. Be sure to finish these older leftovers before starting in on newer foods. That way, things are less likely to go bad. In food service, we have a term called FIFO, meaning first in, first out. So for example, if you have a half-open carton of milk and then you go to the store and you grab another carton, you're going to want to make sure that you drink the open container of milk before you open the container that you just bought. So the container of milk that first went into the fridge is going to be the first that ends up in the garbage. The next part of this is to utilize all parts of your food. You can make stock for soup from animal bones, veggie scraps, or other things like that. Also, be conscious of your cutting when cutting fruits and vegetables. I had a chef in culinary school who would go through the compost bin, and if he found a carrot top with a little too much carrot left on it, or a pepper stem with a little bit of the pepper flesh still attached, he would hunt you down and let you know how much money you were wasting. I'm not saying that you need to be this intense, but the food that you save from cutting carefully can definitely add up in the end. Tip number 4 is to buy dry legumes or different packaging forms of the foods that you usually buy. There are many shelf-stable packaging options for traditionally perishable foods. These foods are traditionally cheaper, and since they have a longer shelf life, can also extend the amount of time between your trips to the grocery store. You can find dry legumes like beans, peas, and lentils, and you can also get canned proteins. So we all think of tuna, but there's such a thing as canned chicken, and it's actually not that bad when you show it some love. Instead of getting refrigerated milk that has a shorter shelf life, you can actually buy boxed or canned milk that can stay good for months at a time. This of course includes both dairy and dairy-free milks. Lastly, you can get canned vegetables and fruits. One thing with canned foods that you'll want to check on is the amount of sodium in them. So for vegetables and beans, manufacturers can oftentimes put a lot of sodium into those cans. You can avoid this extra sodium by going for a no salt added or reduced sodium option, or you could rinse your beans and vegetables, which can oftentimes remove up to half of the added sodium. With canned fruits, you'll want to be aware of the amount of sugar. So fruits are often packed in different liquids, ranging from water all the way to heavy syrup. Water having the least sugar and heavy syrup having the most. Light syrup is probably somewhere in the middle. Again, you could rinse fruits the way that I recommended with vegetables if you do only have access to ones that are packed in heavy syrup. All that said, no food is bad food, and it's definitely better to eat the canned foods that you have access to rather than searching for lower sodium or lower sugar options. Tip number 5 is to eat more plant-based. Animal-based foods, particularly meat, are often expensive sources of protein. Switching to beans, nuts, and seeds as protein sources can actually save you and your family a lot of money. Tip number 6 is to buy in bulk. Foods sold in bulk will often be a lot less expensive than smaller packages or foods sold individually. Buying in bulk just means buying a larger quantity than the small store packaging you might usually see. But folks, please don't feel the need to stock up on items that you know that you and your family don't particularly enjoy eating. That wastes money rather than saves it. There are many foods that you can buy in bulk. For example, grains like rice, farro, barley, and millet. Legumes. You can find black beans, navy beans, baby lima beans, chickpeas, lentils, all kinds of stuff. You can get nuts in bulk too, so walnuts, pistachios, almonds, any seeds that you're into. And you can also get some produce in bulk. Oftentimes you can find big bags of onions, potatoes, sweet potatoes, garlic, even apples and oranges. I actually just bought a bunch of apples and oranges, and I saved a lot of money buying them in these bigger bags instead of picking out the fruit individually. You can always compare the unit price on the little price sticker to make sure that you're actually getting a better deal. Tip number 7 is to buy the foods that are on sale. You can browse online, in the newspaper, or in the grocery store circular to see if there are any deals coming up. Some stores even have apps that you can use to add coupons directly to your member card so you don't have to physically bring the coupons to the store. So I use the Stop and Shop app, and I'll look through on my phone to see what coupons there are for that week. I'll select the ones that I know that I'll use, and then when I'm paying and I scan my card, the coupons are automatically applied to my bill. Tip number 8 is to maximize your government benefits. So all of these are going to be related to the USDA, which stands for the United States Department of Agriculture, as well as the Food and Nutrition Service, or FNS. I'll give you a brief overview of some changes that have happened in these programs since the outbreak of COVID-19, but I recommend you go to the FNS website in order to see these changes for yourself. Much of this information can vary from state to state, so be sure to check in with what's happening at your state to make sure that these changes apply to you as well. SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is now allowing applicants to send in their applications through mobile apps, online, and by the mail. Some houses may also qualify for benefits in addition to those that you are already receiving. In WIC, or Women, Infants, and Children, some states are postponing lab tests and may actually allow you to get your benefits in advance. School meals and child nutrition programs have changed as well. I'm actually going to be talking about that in the next tip, so stay tuned. Finally, changes have been made to food distribution programs. There is now additional flexibility for the types of commodities that can be provided by TFAP, which stands for the Emergency Food Assistance Program. Deliveries may be provided to your home. You could pick up your food at a convenient access point, or you may even be able to appoint a representative to pick up food for you if you yourself are not able to go. The last tip that I have for you guys is to utilize free food programs. The first place that you can find food for free is at a food pantry. So there are many food pantries in community centers, town halls, churches. I even know of a really cool one that's part of a thrift store. The second type I want to talk about are child meal sites. So this is what I was saying I was going to mention before. Many schools are now offering free food to children 18 years of age and younger. Oftentimes, you don't even need to be a student of that specific school in order to be able to pick up food there. Of course, this is going to vary institution to institution, so just call ahead before to make sure that you'll be able to pick up food there. Again, this varies greatly state by state, so it's best to do a search of schools offering this kind of program in your area. I'm actually going to link a really great resource right here, and if you go to this website, they have an interactive map, and you can search your zip code, search your address, and find schools that are offering meals near you. They have information about like the address of the school, what days they're going to be operating, what hours they'll be serving different meals, and all of the meals that they're serving each day. If you're new to utilizing free food programs, or even if you've been utilizing them for a while, you may feel some guilt or shame. If you are hungry, it is the system that has failed and not you. We as a society should be the ones feeling the shame that we don't yet have a way to make sure that every adult and child goes to bed with a full belly. Okay friends, those are my 9 tips for stretching your food dollars during quarantine. I hope you found them helpful. Until the next video, stay safe and stay healthy.